Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's time for another hour of Comic Art Fans, and I'm really happy to welcome Tony Parker to the conversation. Good to see you, Tony.
Great to see you. How you doing today?
Doing all right, man. What town? Where are you?
Wonderful.
Where are you? What part of the country are you in?
Basically Portland, Oregon.
Excellent. Yes,
Yep.
excuse me. I did read
Yeah.
that. That's wonderful, man.
No worries at all. You've got a lot of stuff to do today, so it's totally cool.
Well, I'm excited about this conversation because I know you want to talk about your transition from
hmm
traditional art
Yeah.
to digital art. So yeah,
Yeah.
tell me about your thoughts as you're making this move.
It's pure business. It's pure mechanics, and that's the biggest thing with it. I mean, so there are some people who've been doing digital for quite some time. You look at Brian Beland, who's I hope I'm not horribly mispronouncing his name, who's been doing digital forever, and then like the new Earth One Wonder Woman stuff has almost all been digital as well. So it's a transition, but for me, it's pure mechanics. If I'm because whenever I've been hired, I've never been professionally inked by someone. It's me always doing my own line work. So therefore, if I'm doing the pencils, I'm already halfway to inks. I'm already halfway to inks essentially. So I can cut down my time from 30 to 70% by going to digitally, and therefore I can be able to get more work out there because I love what I do. I'm one of those people that I could probably make more money elsewhere, but I absolutely love what I do with comics. I love telling stories. So therefore, this allows me the opportunity to do that, and so much of it as well as corrections. Like with some properties, they're very loose, very open with what they need done. Other properties are very. They love their IP. They love their sandbox, and I respect that. So therefore, for me to be able to do corrections on that without really messing up the paper. It's much easier for me to go, I can do it on a different layer or I can do it right on there. And therefore, I've got the original, I've got digital. So therefore, I can find what works best with them. So for me, it's much more a thing of mechanics with it, where instead of having to do like 8 weeks for a book, I can do a book in 6 weeks, or I can even do a book in 4 weeks, depending on
Wow.
what the deadline is. So therefore, I can get more work out there. And yes, it works out financially, but it allows me to be able to tell more stories. Don't get me wrong. I love working on pen with tools on paper. It is an absolute joy. And there are things with digital I love as well. But for me, it was almost purely a business decision.
Okay, I can appreciate that. It's funny you've got your that damn band I see in the behind you
and,
on the right.
and Mayday over there is on the other side, and that way block off the ugliness that is my beautiful studio. It is very chaotic from the outside.
Come on.
There you are.
There we go. Sorry about that, man.
No worries. It happens. It's just the way life is.
So yeah, this damn band, obviously, yeah, that's a great,
Mhm.
that fantastic image.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I love that story. You and Paul
Thank you.
Cornell,
Oh, so
tremendous
much fun.
story. Yeah, talk about that miniseries. I thought it was
Oh,
terrific.
I loved working with Paul. He's an absolute delight. He's an absolute joy. They're like one of the nicest people out there, and I loved his story. And oddly enough, if he's one of the if I had to go back and redo stuff, his is one of the books I'd redo a lot of it digitally because there's a lot of repeating panels and a lot of with his storytelling because you wanted a straight shot there. There's a lot more I could do with that, but I absolutely loved working with it. It's one of the last series I did all traditionally.
Oh, interesting. Wow, because
Yeah,
yeah, this is a few years
yeah,
ago.
yeah,
2015,
yep,
2016 in that
yep,
area, and
yep. Around,
and
so around.
another creator-owned thing you did back
Mhm.
then was the Great Cold War story,
Yep.
Mayday with
Oh yeah.
Alex DeCampi. Really
Yep.
love that series as well.
She was love working with her. We've got more stuff coming up together as well, which I
Oh, that's
can't
great.
announce yet. But no, I love working with her. She's incredibly intense, and I love that intensity because she brings stories that aren't traditional. So with that one, the last story we did was all traditional. The new one we've got coming out is all will be almost all digital. I've got 2 or 3 pages. I think I gave her one of them. If I haven't, spoiler, I will be giving it to her. But with that one, it was almost all digital. That way, I could work on it while working on other stuff
That's terrific,
because
man.
it's that time collapse. It helps out tremendously with stuff like that.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you're thinking along those lines. And forgive me if this is a
No,
sensitive subject, but I'm going to
go
ask.
for it.
And NFTs. What do you think of this stuff that's
Oh, I hate
happening
them.
with NFT? It's good.
Absolutely. Absolutely paid them with the Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying in the future there will be a way that it can be responsibly done in a responsibly done form. But right now, where they've got linked to Ethereum, which is, oh, I want to make $20 off this thing, which will waste the same amount or use the same amount of energy as my house for the next 3 years. There is nothing ethically appropriate about it at this stage. Again, down the road, absolutely, I can see where that is. It could potentially be done into a viable option, but the way it's linked to this specific Bitcoin, and even by saying, oh, we've got carbon offsets, it doesn't count that way. It doesn't work. So therefore, I'm vehemently opposed to them. To the point where if I see people that are putting up NFTs, I will unfollow them. It's not that I'm not going to get in an argument with them. They've already made their decision. But I ethically can't support the way that it's structured now. All it is, it's rich bro beanie babies, where they're going through. They're creating
very apt comparison. Yes, go on.
They're creating a false market with false exclusivity. There's a lot of stuff in the background we don't know, combined with so much of EFT is based off of Bitcoin, which itself is used for many illegal transactions as well. So I'm not saying in the future there can be something, but the more I look into it, the less I can find that's anything good about it at its current stage. I'm not saying in the future that there is a possibility, because I would love to be able to sell my digital work. That would be absolutely wonderful. But I ethically can't do it now with the way that things are set up.
That's what I was wondering too, as you transition to digital and then want to do digital exclusively. How would you approach somebody that wanted a page from something you're currently doing?
What I'll do is I'll re-ink it for them. Because that's something I do now because there's some pages I'll get approved digitally, and I'll go through and I'll either lightboard it up like I did with God of War, or with some of the other stuff I'll do it as print it as a blue line, and I'll ink that, and then I'll scan that in, and that's what will be the final image. So it's not I'll just ink it out. It's what I'll ink that, so any minor imperfection or correction or anything like that is on that inked page is the final. So therefore, whoever buys that, they get the final. So that's what I did. I think I did a page or two that with God of War, but I think everything else with that I did is I penciled it and transferred it. I did a combination of the two. I don't remember what the exact breakdown is. But then I scanned that in, so when you're buying the original for that, you're buying the original image that was scanned in. But those were my inks, which in many ways are just as good if I penciled it, because Jim Lee made a great point about that. When you buy a Jim Lee page, you're not buying Jim Lee pencils. You're buying Scott Williams inks. So therefore, it is and every creator or every collector has their own version of that, and I fully support them choosing their own way with it. But for me, this is the exact same thing as if I'd still make all the inking decisions in my head than if I were doing it over pencils. In fact, it's a little bit sharper, so it's a bit more precise. You don't have to worry about rubbing off or anything like that. But some people, like me included, part of me still loves seeing the pencils underneath. So a lot of it depends on that piece, but it's something I'll go through if they want it. And I've done this. Like, hey, I love this page. I would love to have that. Well, it was digital. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say, oh, I've got that here. I'll whip it out and sell a lie.
Sure.
I can do that, and it'll be it'll be a lower price point than if it were if I'd done that, because I'm doing a recreation.
I understand.
But I will still do that as an option, and some people have said yes, some people have said no, thank you, and I respect both with that. It's when you have a collector with a passion with stuff like this, you've got a very specific thing and mindset and art that you're looking for, and I totally get and respect that.
No, I hear you, man. You know, when I'm more of a commission guy rather than an original page guy.
Absolutely.
Because I just like the idea of it being a private performance.
Absolutely.
It's like asking, Springsteen to whip out the guitar and sing "Born to Run" for me, right here acoustically or something.
Absolutely.
So that's what I go for. But no, and as you say, it's a recreation, but it's all you. So I think that's great.
It is, but a lot of people, when they, at least from my way I see it, when they buy the original art, this is exactly what is showing up there. And for me to do a recreation, I think it's more honest for me to say, yeah, this is a recreation of it. That's why when I do the traditional pages, which a lot of them, and sounds like I'm plugging it, but a lot of my issue 4 for God of War, those pages were all done out and then inked over and then scanned back in. So it's still it's just for me as authentic as it would be. But again, everyone has their line where some people prefer that, other people like. I've got pages where I've got pencil on one side and ink on the other. So therefore I
That's
can see the
great.
pencils and inks, or I've got
Yes.
another thing. I've got a J.G. Jones Final Crisis, where he made a correction panel. So for a lot of correctors,
Oh,
like, oh no, it's a cheap page because it's not the full thing. It's here's all the artwork, and then here's the old panel. Then next to it, I've got the new panel. And for me, I love that.
oh
That is
God, yeah.
something where I can see the thought process, because the old one has got all the. Actually, give me a second. I'll grab it.
Oh, that'd be great, man. Yeah, please. And I'll single you out camera-wise while you do that. There we go. Boom.
So it's like right here.
Oh,
And
wow.
So
yeah.
here we are, where like you've
Yes.
got right here, we've got the rejected page, but I can see the drawing process.
Sure.
And over here, I've got the final, what the final looks like.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So therefore, with all that, I've got both of those things, and I absolutely love that.
I don't blame you, man. That's amazing.
And for me, it's from an art side, I can grow so much from that.
Well, absolutely. No, and that's fantastic that you learn from others that way and everything. Absolutely. Really, examine the stuff. Do you have a big original page collection yourself?
I've got a limited degree of them. I love it, but it's not the cheapest of hobbies.
I'm hip.
And so it's one of those things where I've got a collection. I'm very specific with the ones I get. I'd really try to go through. I don't go like on eBay sniping runs or anything like that, but I love going to conventions and seeing the creator and going through and buying directly from them, or going, if they don't want tables, going to their art rep and getting from them as well, where it's the direct connection there. Both are wonderful with that. And I don't do the big splash pages. One, I really can't afford them because they're deservedly worth a lot of money, and I respect that. But a lot of it is, I love finding the storytelling pages, because I can find their storytelling elements, as well as, instead of one picture, I've got 5 or 6. I see multiple versions of how they drew those characters.
That's awesome. Is that a bird in the house, or is that a bird outside the window?
It's a bird in my studio.
That's great. What kind of bird do you have?
I've got a cockatiel named Angie. She's about 18 years old or something like that.
Isn't it crazy how old the birds, their life expectancy? Yeah.
If I'm lucky, I've got another 4 years out with her. So because they live usually like 15 to 22, and I take good care of her. And she's always in my studio. She's got an out-facing window, but yeah, you will hear I've gotten like noise stuff to it. I don't even notice it.
No, it's all good, man. I got no. To me, that's cinema verite. That where it's real life, man. It's all right.
Absolutely.
So I got no. I love when cats or dogs walk across the screen when I'm talking to somebody.
Actually,
I think it's hilarious.
I shut the door behind me so my puppy doesn't come through. Come through for that, but because always it'd be the puppy show, and we would all be the better for it. So I'm actually a horrible person for keeping him out.
Is the banner on the left Mayday? What is the banner?
Yeah, that is Mayday.
That's fantastic. Yeah, man. Yeah. Here, I'll zoom in
right there.
There you go. Yep. Boom. Yes, it is. Yep. There we go. Of course it is.
Yeah. Last year,
that's great.
Yep. Loved again. Alex is wonderful to work with. Loved doing the series, and Alex and I have more. It's basically all done. We're just finishing up all the timing stuff for it. So we got Blonde back doing colors, and she's doing the letters for it as well. So it is absolutely wonderful. And this one's a bit more family friendly than the previous one, so that way it's easier for it to be carried in shops. So I know some shops are like, it's a good story. I just don't want to have that parent come up like, my kid could see this. So
I hear you, man.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
When it's closer to press, I want to have you and Alex back. I talk to you one-on-one because I prefer it rather, because I always feel like I'm short shrifting somebody when I am both on at the same time. But yeah, man, I'm glad we're finally talking, because in both cases of this damn band and Mayday, I really enjoyed both series and have talked to Paul and Alex. So now it's time to thank you for such great work. And I'm really glad you guys are getting back. Absolutely. I'm glad you're getting back to it.
Absolutely.
So that's terrific. Who's writing God of War?
God of War is Robertson. He's wrote the first one. He does an amazing job with the second one, and it's one of the things I incredibly respect what the writer has to do with that, because they have to thread the needle of writing a story that the fans are going to enjoy and love, but doesn't directly affect anything that might happen in the future games. Because he's had a couple times, he said this publicly, he's had a couple times where I've like, here's my pitch, and they're like, that's great, we're already doing that.
Sure.
And it's got to be that balance, because it's all in canon. It's all stuff that exists within the game realm. So, and that was one of the fun things for God of War. When I did the first God of War 4 series, I drew the only image of Kratos' wife ever in existence.
Oh, wow.
It was like, what does she look like? They're like, go for it. I'm like, what? No pressure at all. But I absolutely love working in their sandbox. I love working. It's not work. I love playing in the sandbox. I love doing the work with Dark Horse and with the Santa Monica studio. Corey Balrog is amazing. At least from my side, everyone I've worked with there, and I've heard the same thing across the chain as well. Everyone I've worked there has been absolutely wonderful. They're honest. Like I'll do initial stuff of here's what I think this looks like. They're like, nope, doesn't work at all. Try something different. And like, cool. And they'll come with something like that is wonderful. We love it. And
would you ever want to do direct, and forgive me if you've already done it. Have you done game design already? Have you played in that world?
I have not. I've done tabletop game design and tabletop.
Okay.
Tabletop. They've used my art for tabletop miniatures.
Oh, that's great.
But I've got a lot of friends that work in that realm, and it is such a tough field. I have a tremendous amount of respect of the skill level and the skill sets that are required for that. Part of me is like, yes, I would love to. But for me, it'd mostly be like, I would love to see the Kratos in the desert version show up as an alternate skin at some point. That'd be great. Not going to happen, and I respect that. I get that. But I would love for something like that to happen. But the skill sets involved with game design, I have such a tremendous amount of respect for the people that do that. That they make it look so easy. And that's something when you go through, because they're friends, I'll talk to them. I'll see like when they do the game, like all like the thousands of layers for like the layer for the jewel on the pommel on the second backup knife and underneath the jacket that no one ever sees in the game. But that's what's needed for it.
I understand. Absolutely. Good question from Ronald Shepard here. He wants to know, with the cons opening back up this year, are you planning to attend any? If so, which ones?
I am. I absolutely am. I got my second vaccination a week and a half ago.
Way to go.
So therefore, thank you. Yeah, and I was giddy to have it. So by this upcoming Wednesday, I'll have my 2 weeks after my second one. So everyone, please get out there, get vaccinated, because that's what's going to bring the cons back, is showing that the numbers are going down.
Damn straight.
I have 2 shows that I may be showing up for. We're not final talks. It's right now their shows themselves are figuring themselves out. And they would love to have me there. We'll see how the mechanics on their side work. And I'm not going to name the shows because that's a total dick move.
I'm hip. Yeah.
It's one of those things where I have 2 shows coming up in a while. So I'm not even going to give the period of time because it'd be easier to figure out which show it is. But 2 shows I'd love to do, and I'd love to be guest for, and hopefully I can come back for that. And we'll see, because part of it is we've got to go back not an old normal, but a new normal. And I respect what conventions have to go through to reset this. And so I'm going to do everything I can on my side to help support them and work with it. If it means that I don't get a free table, I'm okay with that. I want to do what I can to make sure that show survives, because all the shows that I do are good shows run by good people.
That's great, man.
And so therefore, if that means, okay, I got to pay my way for it, I know that's a point of contention amongst creators. Like for this one, you know what? They've taken amazing care of me in the past. For me to be able to step forward, me personally to do this, to step forward, like, you know what? I'm not Jim Lee. Yes, I will pay for my table, because there's no guarantee just because of the properties I've worked on between creator-owned and like God of War and Mass Effect. And
yes,
like I did a book with on the Doors. Oh, take it back. Doors, I did all traditionally. I did.
Oh, wow. That's great, man.
I did the Doors through Z2 Comics. I did the opening and the closing, and both of those were all traditional, where it was all done on pencil and done on paper and done down there with that. So
that must have been cool. That's fantastic doing the Doors.
It was fun, and its likenesses are hard.
I can appreciate that.
That is reference for some stuff where it's like I cannot find any reference for the specific building, but it has a purpose. So let's see what I can do. Let's make the fewest people angry as possible. Comics.
I'm interested. I'm interested in terms of both God of War and Mass Effect. 2 things. One, have you ever done any e-sport conventions? As you know, because honestly, I was talking with and now I'm blanking on who I was talking to, but I was talking about how the comics that are derived from the games. I wonder how much the publishers and really even the local stores realize that that's a great connection with a kid audience.
Yeah.
That, you know, hey, if you love this game, well, you might love these comics and stuff. And just how much marketing and you know, do you know anecdotally or your own experience of people, fans of the games, knowing about your work like this?
I know enough to know that I don't know.
Fair enough.
That's one of those things where, I mean, quick little 30-second story. I was waiting in line so I can get Chris Claremont to sign a comic, and great creator, and because his X-Men with Jim Lee is literally what got me into comics.
Oh wow, that's great.
And it's like, so I got both Jim Lee and him to sign that comic. While I'm waiting around, two people in front of me are like, "Oh yeah," so they're talking about the Mass Effect comic and Tony Parker, and I'm like, "That's me."
That's fantastic.
And so it was a weird little thing where there is that carryover, and with God of War 4, there was a special edition motion comic that came with that.
Oh
so
wow.
Therefore, it was like, yeah, I did. And so it's like, oh yeah, I know that. You did see that? You know the comic at the beginning? Yeah. Oh, I did that. Oh wow, that's great. But I know that Santa Monica Studios and Dark Horse do a great job of cross promoting as well.
Okay, good deal.
So then when you see the comics, like read more of this at Dark Horse Comics, you can get through these locations. So they do that. But as far as like an esport convention, I've never been to one, so I don't know enough to say is it something that's worthwhile. And even then, I'm very cautious about respecting other people's intellectual property. Like I have permission to I've got a certain set of prints that I can sell only at conventions. I got that permission from Santa Monica Studios, and I get it. So I can't do them online. I can do them there. And I've never really asked EA BioWare for the Mass Effect stuff. But I'm also very respectful, because I used to make prints of whatever I wanted. Now I've become much more respectful of other people's IP. So I could do at the show conventions, and if other people do that, that's their call, that's their choice.
Of course.
It's not me condemning other people for doing that. It's for me, I've made this decision that unless I have permission from the IP as intellectual property holder. So unless I have permission from them, I'm not going to go off and like just make prints and they'll help me with the cease and desist, and I'll stop them. Like, no, it's kind of that's playing chicken, and it's disrespectful for the people that do that. So therefore, one of my backgrounds is I've got a pre-law degree, so I know the legality of it all. I know what's right. I know what's safe, and the two aren't always the same thing.
I'm with you.
So therefore, with stuff like that, it's out of respect. And I haven't done Mass Effect in long enough, even though they've got the new redone version coming out now, which I've heard wonderful things about. With that, I haven't talked to them long enough, so it'd be weird for me to go back and say, "Hey guys, can I make prints of your stuff, or can I sell some of that?" They might say yes out of politeness, but there's a long enough connection there. I think it'd be disrespectful to reach out like that. So,
well, and again, you might be screwing up a future gig if you were to do prints behind somebody's back. Here's a page from Mass Effect that I really thought was spectacular. Pretty cool, man.
Oh yeah, that was so much fun. That was such a fun sandbox to play in as well. The armor was, don't get me wrong, the armor can be difficult to do because you've got to get it right. So you really got to nail it. And so therefore, out of respect for that, I want to make sure that sometimes the armor, especially some of the Shepherd type armor, fits great when it's skinned on a character. When you have them as hard plates trying to move over each other, sometimes it falls apart a little bit with some of the anatomy. So it's kind of like that Voltron thing where how can Voltron raise his hand when like it's a blocky structure? Same with the Transformers, where there's a bit of forgiveness there when you're creating.
Very cool.
It was still, but again, it was such fun to play, and I've played the games. I was a huge fan of Mass Effect when I was like, "Hey, Tony, you want to do this?" Yes, and I saw the trailer. It's like, "Oh God, yes!" I really needed, and so I was a huge fan. And with Mass Effect, as I was playing the game, I was always one chapter behind whatever chapter I did in the comic. So I'd go through and I'd do the issue, and then I'd go back to playing and no matter how much I tried to catch up, I never quite was able to catch up with it. So
Jeff has a good question. Jeff, man, when thinking about other people's IPs, would you consider a cover recreation commission art theft?
No, because when I do it, I make sure to put who I'm after, whoever these people are. Like for the book, one of the books I'm working on now, Essentia work on Essentia with John Dolman. He asked me for the Kickstarter, can you do a cover recreation of the classic Days of Future Past X-Men cover? And okay, I can do that because I made sure very specifically on there in big letters after Byrne and Austin, because it is intentionally done as a cover recreation. It's done out of respect, and it's been done enough times that it's established within legality and within the comics community. I'm not trying to steal it. It's not me saying, "Oh wow, sure, I did this," or "Yeah, this is my thing," or I don't put it, at least don't give me respect back. Because I've seen creators who will go out and say, "Look what I did," and well, yeah, I recognize that's that cover. Well, yeah, but it's my take on it. Their name isn't on but you didn't put their name on that or after this person. So therefore, to a person who is not familiar with comics, they'll look at it and say, that looks amazing. I love that. I want to buy that print, or I want to buy an original of that original. And therefore, they're stealing all the work and hard work and creativity that the initial creators put into it. But by saying this is after that person, you're showing respect to that person. You're saying, this is my take on it. This is my respectful homage to them. Yes, I'm making money off of it, but I'm making sure that everyone knows this wasn't me. This is my interpretation of their work, which has been done throughout art history.
100%, man, and it makes a big difference. Acknowledging where the original idea came from. You mentioned Essentia, and I've got the cover right here. Not the Days of Future Past one, but I've certainly got a recent cover. So tell me about this. Is this, and forgive me because I'm video game illiterate. Is this based on a game, or is this an original?
It is a completely original property that John has been wanting to do forever. And he came up to me at Emerald City one year, which is another reason why I love doing shows. I get so much work from shows. But he came up, it's like, hey, I love your work. I didn't know who he was at the time. I mean, I knew the band, but I didn't associate the face with the name. I love your work. I want you to work on this. Like, okay, we'll talk after the convention, because you never do business at a show. You make connections, but you never do business, because I'm
with you.
You never know. I mean, I've been hired on the spot once, but that was an incredibly rare, and that's because I brought a lot of stuff with me. And with Essentia, it's his baby. It's something he's wanted. It's for him. It's very much a story he's wanted to do forever. And he's like, that's it. I have the resources. I'm going to do this. So he approached me, and I've been doing the line art. Issue 4 came out. Issue 5, I think, is coming out this upcoming month. I'm not too sure. Things got bumped back a little bit.
Sure.
And I'm almost done with issue 8 right now. So we're working at that, and it's set in the future. It's a very it's not fully dystopian, but it's a very a classist story where you've got the rich and you've got the poor. The rich live in the big, beautiful, gleaming towers of Essentia, which in that section I'm drawing is all Art Deco, but more of a depressing, like brutalistic Art Deco, where it doesn't have the smooth, sweeping lines. It's very hard. Everything is hard, sharp, 90-degree angle edges. And but there's been a murder. And none of the detectives there can figure it out, because it's such a controlled place that murders really don't happen, especially of this brutality. So they go and they get one of the best detectives of the area of Bethany, which is the surrounding area. I'll talk about that in a second. The surrounding area of Essentia. And so they bring him in to try to solve this brutal crime, because they're above it. They don't know how to deal with it. So bring in someone who's a lower class, brutal person to solve it. And he's a very good person. But he's dealt with a lot of bad. So it's so much of the story is being introduced to the world around it, all the areas of Essentia, and like the different guilds there, and then you have the gangs of Bethany and the semi-governmental states there. And so you introduce this whole very in-depth, very well-rounded world while going through this murder investigation. Kind of like how Twin Peaks was the murder of Laura Palmer, but while you're there, you're introduced to this whole world around you.
That's cool. This is an amazing cover here. Very pulpy kind of cover.
Very much so. And back to the Jim Lee cover, and John's done an amazing job getting incredibly talented cover artists. I'm so amazed that I got one of the covers on it. But the Jim Lee cover for me is a childhood dream in many ways, because I had Jim Lee, who literally his X-Men 247, when I read it, I was like, I want to do this. And to have him draw characters I designed on a cover that I'm working on is absolutely amazing.
I want to, and forgive me, I want to obviously acknowledge some of the cover artists, like Lucio Perillo just did the one that we just showed there. And then the first one we showed was a Ben Oliver cover. So forgive me, man. I got covers. I don't have your. I'm looking for your cover.
If you go back to like showing the other covers. I saw one of my covers here. So just pop.
Oh, here it is. The 1A cover. Hold on one second. I'm going to
because I saw it there
up in a second.
Yeah, because I saw it there when they had like the other covers. I can just say, that one right there.
There you go.
And that one,
Yep. Keep talking. It's all good.
Yeah. No, and that one was, hey, John, I did this piece. I want to do this purely as promotional stuff, and I really like it. And he's like, okay, make these corrections, and that'll be our 1A cover. What? Yeah, no, I love it. It's great. It fits our theme. It's perfect with everything, and it's something that I think would work great as the 1A cover. Like, wow. So that's awesome. No, he's been amazing to work with. when people talk about like, oh, working with Rockstar, it's like, oh, got to work with a diva. He is the exact opposite.
That's always great to hear, man. And it's always like, cool, people like him and Gerard Way and the guy from Coheed and Cambria and everything. It's wonderful that these people really do love comics and really want to be a part of it.
No, he absolutely loves what he's doing with this. So it was, there are things where he's got his like, nope, it's got to be this way. This is how I've got it done. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'll switch it over. It's still my job to make sure that I bring out the author's vision. But other times I'll pop, I'm like, hey, can we do this? Or I put this, or I made sure to put all these things over for this reason. He's like, there are times he'll be like, that's great. I love that. Other times, no, we can't do it. And it doesn't work. I'll switch it back. And that actually ties into the panel about being digital. Because almost all the John stuff is digital, because there are times he'll go through and he's got his vision. I want to make sure, get the vision, but I also want to make sure I keep the deadline.
Sure.
So therefore, almost all this stuff is digital, and the few pages that I do traditionally, he owns. So it's something that he buys them. Because
that's great.
He's done well for himself. And it's also a thing of respect, like it's his baby, and I get that people want to have their baby with that. So therefore, I make sure I give him a decent price on everything. I don't jack the price up like he's got a lot of money, he can afford it. Like, no, it's disrespectful. It's if I were to put a price tag on this is a price tag it would be.
I'm with you. That's excellent.
And so therefore, he would, if it was anyone else, they'd be the same price. And there are a few pages I'm keeping. So therefore, in issue 2, where they've got the huge, huge theater essentially, which I'm not going to give anything else away because I don't want to spoil anyone who hasn't read it yet. That one I'm keeping. That one's mine. I want to keep that page. It's not for sale. It's not I'll hold on this. If it blows up, I'll sell it later. This is a page I love. I want to keep this page.
That's awesome.
So a few pages I'll do that. The other ones I'll sell to him. Other times there's been an issue 2 where we're under deadline. I'm like, I don't have time, because with that I'll do the layouts in pencil, and then I'll do the whole page digitally. And if we like it, then I'll go through scan it at 30% or scan it as a blue line and ink it there, and then rescan that in and send that out to the colorist.
Understood.
But they're like right now with the issue I'm working on right now, I'm under a really tight deadline, so all that will be, unless something pops up, all that will be digital. Because in the end, my job is to put the book out there. My job isn't there to create original art that people will buy in the short term. My term is to tell the story.
I'm with you, man.
And that's where a lot of, especially younger creators or newer creators, get caught up with is, wow, this original page sold for $10,000. I'm doing all my stuff with big splashes and big hero shots that don't feed the story, but we'll sell to a collector because I'll make my money there. And those people usually have short-term careers. The people that long-term, people get hired again are the ones that tell the story. Yes, you can have that big splash page like that Mass Effect page there, but that page sold the story. That's part of the story. It wasn't I want to do this because for the short term. It's all about, exactly. That's a big hero shot. It was there in the script. It wasn't, hey, I'm going to drop these panels off. I'm going to push them over to another panel. I want them there for this. I want it there for the story.
I totally get it, man. Yeah.
So that's what it's got to be, because, well, yes, splash pages can sell for more. They're there to tell a story. They're not there to get secondary market.
For an impact, and you're right, and also to distinguish itself from other pages and stuff. No, I totally understand, and that's what happened in the 90s. That frankly, as an older reader, turned me off of comics because they became more about the art and less about the storytelling. And I'm just like, I just didn't care, and it just left me indifferent. And it wasn't until the very late 90s that I came back and saw that story mattered again, along with art.
Absolutely.
It's got to be a marriage.
Yeah, absolutely, it has to. And it cycles through. Right now, since it's a curse of wealth in many ways, because there's the level of art right now in comics, on a whole, is better than it has been in any other time in the modern history of comics.
Could not agree more. Go on.
And people say, well, what about Frazetta? What about Kirby? Like, yes, those are amazing singular creators, and I love them. I've got like the big old IDW oversized books of their work.
Sure.
And they're stunning. But if you look at on a jump over a jump scope of it, you had those 2 or 3 creators. You had everyone else ripping them off. And right now, you don't have that. You don't have like the 90s where everyone was doing either Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, or Mark Silvestri. And I've met those creators. I've had dinner with those creators.
Good guys.
I've had great experiences with all of them. And so therefore I'm not ripping on them in any way, shape, or form. I love their art. But now we're at a place where that's a beautiful piece of art. Yeah, well, Nicholas Scott has beautiful art, but people don't rip off Nicholas Scott because they can go get Nicholas Scott if they want to get it. It's an old, back in the day, Dan DiDio would go through and like, hey, yeah, if I want Jim Lee art on a book, I'll go to Jim. If I want J.H. Williams, I'll go J.H. Williams. If I want Bilquis Isley, I'll go get Bilquis. Or I hope I'm not horribly mispronouncing her name, but I love her work. But if I want to go to those creators, I'll go to those creators. And like if I want a Sanford Green cover, I will go to Sanford Green. Don't come to me with your stuff. Come to me with your own thing. And one thing that's done is created this incredible diversity of art. Where yes, Jim Moffat was out in the late in the 90s, but now you have so many creators that follow in his footsteps that went with that. So therefore, we have such a wealth now. It's wonderful.
I totally agree, man. And it's only gotten more international again, which is great. Mm-hmm. And yes, and then even as you've name checked people like Nicola, amazing women are joining the fray.
I love
Sanford Green is. I'm so glad Sanford went from having to do on model adaptations early in his career,
really,
to and isn't that? I mean, that's the great thing is he finally's like, I'm not taking those gigs anymore.
Yep.
I'm doing my thing. And my God, just it's incredible. And even now, as great as Bitterroot is and stuff, I always get his sketchbooks, and he's become a really good friend. And he's just he's amazing. And like you say, it's just the diversity of styles and the acceptance by the publishers and therefore the fans of these styles. It's a really, really great time.
I will say more. Ironically, I'm much more I'm the other side of it, where I'm doing my own creator own little thing right now, and which when it gets announced, it'll get announced. Just doing short stories at a time to fit in my work schedule. But I'm also one that's adaptable. Like when they came for God of War, it's like, we want you to work in more this genre, this looser lines, more holding lines, fewer rendering, and then when I do Ascension, it's like I want as much detail packed in the page as possible. So for me, it's something where I'll do that balance, but I still do my own stuff as well.
So and you're very adept. You obviously can draw in different styles, because comparing Mayday to Mass Effect and God of War and Ascension and everything, they are very different. But that's amazing. That's incredible. You can do that.
Didn't want to seem like a hypocrite when I see all these other people picking their own stuff. It's like, but you do these things. You're absolutely right. And for me, it's a balancing act, where there are times like and where I can do this or other, like when I did this damn band, I had 6 different art styles in there, because that's what the story had, which was my own fault. But it's something where I go through and I want to make sure that whenever I'm doing work, the art, like it's something I got from spacing his name, but retired from comics recently, he keeps on coming back. Avengers and
oh God,
that guy. But he's like, he does his art to fit what the storytelling is. I loved being a character actor.
Oh, are you talking Stuart Emmetman?
Yep, absolutely.
There you go. I know.
Love that guy.
Oh my God, I do too. And truly, I miss him. He used to come on WordBalloon a lot. And you're right about that. Whatever the story called for, he would give you a completely different style, and it's mind blowing.
I've got his sketchbooks and got some of his original art, and you go through wow, it's so diverse. That's so inspirational for me.
That's terrific.
And
to hear,
that's something I love to do. Where sometimes, I've got to adapt, and some people say, no, you only draw your own thing. Like, I've been working for comics for more years than I care to admit to, and it's one of the reasons because I can adjust. I see it as being a character actor. Where if you got Steve Buscemi, it's like, which Steve Buscemi are you going to get? Because it's depending on the role.
Yep.
And then he'll do his own passion projects. But other times, I'm doing this for the money so I can do these other things. And I see the same thing. I'm just lucky that my money projects are projects I love as well.
That's beautiful, man.
So I'm very lucky with that.
Absolutely. No, God, yes. All right, a couple good questions.
Please.
Let's see here. Ronald wants to know, he doesn't have any social media. Is there an email address for Tony available?
Yes, there is. My work address is, and this is on my website. My website is tonyparkerart.com, but my work email is ethynyt@yahoo.com. Echo Tango Harbor Native Yankee Tango. It's because my very, very first creator-owned store I ever did was called Ethereal Nights. I wanted to shrink that down to 6 letters, and now it's something I can find there. But no, I'm not giving anything away because that's also on my website, and so things can find that. I try to respond as quick as possible, but sometimes things take time, and I'm not taking any commissions. My commission list is closed because when I do commissions, I don't take money until I start the commission. It's paying in advance, but I also don't take the money until I know I can get that commission done in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's good to hear. Absolutely.
So it's something where people can be frustrated they're not list, and I respect that, but I'm not taking any money until I can do it right away.
I hear you, man.
Because I don't want people wait, because I've had people on the list for 2 or 3 years. And it's tough. I respect that, but I don't want people to have paid money waiting 2 to 3 years.
It's very obvious, Tony. You're learning as you're going and kind of adjusting your career to be fair to not only fans but also potential business partners and the publishers in that.
And if they can't make it that time around, they stay on the list. And I just go through I cycle through that list, and I've kept it short for that reason, because I don't want people like list 20 people long and like, okay, now I've got to wait another 2 years for it. So I try to work through, and once that list is gone, then I'll open it back up again with that same caveat.
I understand, man. And Lisa's a good policy.
Yep.
And also earlier he had mentioned that he wanted to say he really enjoyed your Art in the Doors graphic novel.
Oh, thank you.
And owns a piece, so that's really cool.
That was a lot of fun to do.
Jeff wanted to know if for beginning comic artists, would you advise them to start with self-publishing their original comics or try to pitch them to an established comic publisher?
Breaking into comics is kind of like breaking out of prison. Every person's different path. Once they find a way, they seal it up. I've stolen that from someone else, so it's not my original thought. A lot of it is do your own thing. Partially, it could be successful, and rule one. Well, there are 2 rule ones. Rule one is always have fun with it. The other rule one is never give up your IP. Always maintain rights to your intellectual property. And you could do your own thing, and that blows up because editors, they're much more likely to hire you by seeing the work that you've done on your own thing versus here's my Batman submission. So they're much more likely to, they like your work, they'll say, what's your Batman look like? Or like a lot of times they'll hire like, okay, here's a 3-page sample script, we're going to pay you for it, do this. But always, right now with Comixology, with Webtoons, with all these other things, it's much easier for you to do your own thing right now because it can always be picked up by a publisher. In fact, publishers, they will go through those things, and if they like your stuff, they'll make you an offer. So for the most part, go do your own thing. You can do pitch packets. There's nothing wrong with doing a pitch packet. And there
describe what goes into a pitch packet.
Oh, I'm still figuring this out myself. It's depends on the company. Like it can be the first 3 pages, penciled, inked, and colored, the cover, and it's the full first script, as well as an overlay of what your first story arc is. So therefore, when a publisher looks at it, they know exactly what they're getting. Or there's no surprises. If you're pitching to Image, you need the first 3.5 issues completed, in the can, done. There are a few anomalies, like if you're a major creator, they'll look at like, okay, yeah, we know who you are. We've worked with you. Like Mags Vizagia, is that?
Mags.
With Mags, with her, like she's proven herself. She can go through like, I want to do this. They'll say, that looks great, we'll do it.
Sure.
But I think Alex is a hit and miss with that as well. But with them, they've proven themselves. They can go through like, we're going to do this. Stevenson's like, I know you're respected. You've proven yourself year after year after year.
Yeah.
But if I were to do it, if I were to pitch to Image, like my book, if I were to pitch it to them, I would need the first 3.5 issues done. It doesn't matter. I've done multiple Image books. I've done Image covers. I've done these things.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because I've proven myself to that. Basically, you have to proven to that point. And I respect that because they've had too many creators that have waffled out like, oh, I already sold my IP to Netflix. I don't need to do this anymore. And they'll walk away. I'll send Images holding the bag of being everyone mad at them because they don't have the rest of the series.
I'm with you. And also, there are people that are great artists but haven't really done either the monthly deadline thing, and that can be tough to kind of, as you know, from adjusting your art to digital to be able to fit deadlines better. And then also, like you said, that they're unproven, and it's like, no, we need to know that you can tell a story. You draw great images, but can you tell a story with your art?
What is the story? It's like, okay, then issue 4, we start eating the kittens. What? I wasn't ready for this. This wasn't the pitch. So therefore, you can go back. You always have a pitch, and because tying all this perfectly into the panel and everything else is 2020 was incredibly busy. I mean, I'm busy now. I've got a full schedule. I'm on essentially as an ongoing, so I've got that, and I've got other side projects I'm working on as well within that. I mean, my own creator-owned property. I may be doing some more short stories. I may be doing another long-term story as well, like nights and weekends. But at one point, I was working on 4 books, and everyone knew about it. I wasn't cheating on anyone, because that's a big thing, huge thing. Never lie to your editors. Never hide from your editors. All my editors knew what was going on.
Sure.
So at one point, I was working on Essentia, I was working on God of War, I was working on the thing with Alex DeCampi, and I was working on a short story, the Doors thing, at the same time. And that was, let's see, Doors was all traditional. Alex DeCampi's book was all digital. Essentia was all digital, and God of War was mostly digital with a few key pages redone and penciled out.
Okay.
There's no way I could have done that otherwise with that. So it wasn't all like I was working. Essentia was my Essentia and God of War were my day jobs. So like I was waiting for notes on one, I'd be working on the other, or I'd be working into the evening. So I kept all my deadlines, and I made sure that my quality work never suffered.
That's wonderful.
And then the evenings I'd be working on the Doors, and I'd be working on I keep on wanting to say what the book is, but I don't want to let it.
I understand, buddy. It's cool.
Alex's book as well. So therefore, since Alex had the slowest, had no permanent deadline, that one would be the one that'd be number 4. Even though it's incredibly fun to work on, I've got some amazing pages I can't wait to show from it, and some great storytelling sequences there as well. So that then it'd be the Doors, because that had specific deadlines, and then I bounced back and forth between God of War and with Essentia. And again, everyone knew about it. Excuse me. There was no point of, oh yeah, I can sneak it by. No one's going to notice. I'm like, no, hey, I'm working on this as well. There was just a bit of overlap, but thankfully, since I'm waiting for notes from here, I'll be working on it then. So everyone knew it every time.
That's great.
And that way, again,
you can keep going. It's all good, man.
That's because I was able to work digital with that. So a few key pages I thought would sell well, or find a good forever home for creators. That's something I would do. Yeah, no, all the Door pages were all traditional. Those were made sure to do those, because with the fan base for that, it seemed like they much prefer a traditional thing with it.
Understood. That's great, man. And really, it's.
I think they were at least. I have to double check on that, but yeah.
You're an honest broker, and I think that's good to hear. And it's great to hear too, because honestly, the other recurring theme in terms of conversation this past year is how did COVID affect you from a business standpoint? Or even creatively. How'd you handle the year? I mean, again, you just said as far as deadlines go, but was it kind of tough, or is it something you were able to deal with?
It was difficult because it shifted the family structure with that, so I had to restructure. I never talk about my family. I respect their privacy as well, but it was restructured that. So that was a unique challenge, which a lot of other creators went through as well. But you adapt, you learn, and life is juggling. Some of the balls are rubber, they bounce back. Some are glass, they break. So you always make sure you keep the glass ones going, and the rubber ones will bounce back. But so there was that, and the conventions were a big loss for everybody.
Yeah,
because that was a huge chunk of the finances that made that shift over with that. But I'd rather lose some money and keep people alive.
Completely, absolutely.
So therefore, there was a balance with that, and I miss the people. I miss hanging out, and it's gonna be fun when the convention starts up again. I'll be like, I know you from somewhere, but I've forgotten how to wear pants, and. Just I am nothing but free association. There is no filter anymore. So it's gonna be that first convention is gonna be a fun point of people confuse me, and I need an adult.
All right, Lee's suggesting people go to TD Art's website.
Absolutely.
If anyone is interested in art for the Doors art, so that's cool.
She is my exclusive art dealer, so any art that I sell goes through her. And every once in a while, if I have stuff like if I do sketches or stuff like that, a lot of times I'll go through her with that as well. She's done an amazing job with me, and I love working with her, and she's absolutely nothing but a consummate professional. So,
would you consider, and this has been my other question regarding COVID, because a lot of creators affected by Pencils Down went to Panel Syndicate and other platforms to, beyond the traditional comics market. Have you considered that as far as other places to put your work?
Not fully, because almost all my stuff has been either work for hire or, like with Alex, she nails this stuff. She is amazing. You follow her, if nothing else, for her master's classes on that. She knows how to deal with stuff professionally. And so with like stuff with all my other stuff were work for hire. So Essentia and God of War work for hire, so I don't have to worry about that.
Good.
With Doors, that was through Z2, which I love. Rance is amazing. I love working with them. They're absolutely wonderful. And
was that Rance? Did you say Rance?
Yeah,
Rance Hosley?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to reconnect with Rance. I didn't know he was over there.
Yeah, he's over. I love him to death. He's
great,
wonderful.
Oh, wonderful guy, absolutely.
But so I'm with that. Like my creator on right now is like, right, it's only 8 pages. I'm doing like a Hellboy model where I'm just doing a couple pages at a short story at a time.
Sure.
Because my goal, I mean, I love it. I love working on it. I love my other stuff as well. But I'm a professional. I've got to make sure that I keep the highest level possible on my my contract stuff.
Yeah.
So therefore I can I'll just pull off these paint, like no backgrounds. I'll just like a bunch of silhouettes. I'll pull all the 90s tricks and blow off this issue so I can do my own thing. Like, that makes sure I don't get hired, but not just with him, but with other people, editors in the future, because they can see that. They know it's glaring to them.
I understand that.
Making sure. So I'm just I've got an 8-page done that I've hired an editor for. I hired a letterer for. I did all my own colors, and so therefore, like when that's lettered, I'll figure that out. I may do comics, see if accepted by Comixology. I may do some of the other stuff. A lot of other things don't work well for that. Like Webtoons is a bad format for that because I need like so many continuing subscribers for that to make any money off of it all. So it's a balancing act.
Totally understand, man. And again, I think the people that are asking the artist breaking in questions want to hear this kind of feedback. So that's great to hear, and I appreciate the understanding. Oh, believe me, man. I had allergies as well, and I don't know. They came on in my 20s, and by my 40s they went away, and I went to my allergies. I'm like, what happened? He goes, you grew out of them, man. It happens. Yep. I'm like, okay.
At most, it's like a minor sniff out. It's like, I do not have a drug problem. It is just like a little sniffle there. And
it's that time of year. Don't even sweat.
Yeah, and the flowers are beautiful up here. So it's
that's great.
This is the worst thing I've got to worry about. I will occasionally accept the occasional sniffle in order to enjoy the beauty that's out there.
Are there other Portland area creators that you hang out with pre-COVID and are willing?
We used to have like a little get together every once in a while, and that's kind of been on a hiatus. There would be, but the problem between everyone's got deadlines, because that's the one thing.
Sure.
Hey, busy Friday? No, I've got deadline due Monday morning. I can't do it, and there used to be the occasional get together, but. Yeah, we're all looking forward to it when everyone starts getting vaccinated. Now that everyone's getting vaccinated up, and I've been very lucky with the community around me. They're all very proactive about it. In fact, one of the assistant editors I know, I'm actually going to drive her over to get her shot at the airport on next Sunday.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent.
So it's something where it's an amazing, it's a wonderful community here. We lived in Phoenix, there's a wonderful community there as well, and it's a small pond. That's one of the big things about it.
Dude, I hear you, and truly, if I could, I'm in Chicago.
Yeah,
we've got a great comics community here.
I know a lot of people there.
There you go. And but I always say, if I were to move, I would likely go to Portland, because I could think of a dozen friends that I've made doing this for 16 years, and it's like, oh my God, it'd be great to see everybody more. Yeah, I understand. I know, man, but also, hey, well, Chicago's not cheap either. So,
yeah, no, it's but no, it's a great. At least I've been isolated enough that I don't know the actual, like, every place has their politics. So I haven't seen any of the actual internal politics, but there's some great comic shops up here and great creators. And so therefore I'm at that stage where everyone's great, so that's where the humanity, that's where the politics kicked in. I have yet to experience that. So I'm going to hold on to that for as long as I can. That's
great, man. Another plug for TD Art from Shaggy. TD Art is so professional, respects their customers.
Absolutely.
And Tyler agrees with you. Lots of great shops in Portland, Seattle, when he was there last. I can attest to that as well. I was there in 2019 for Rose City, and got a nice tour of the community and everything. So, and I'm sorry I didn't meet you then, Tony.
Oh no, I'm very limited with how many shows I do. Between Rose City, I'll go visit. I may sit at a table, do a signing or two, but that's about it. Whereas, like in the years past, I've done the Phoenix show and I've done Emerald City, but I've really got to be careful to space myself, on how shows go. So therefore, like with Portland, yeah, it's a wonderful show. I love it. The people that run it do a great job. It's nothing against them. It's just very limited with that, and they've got limited space there. So I'd much rather have that space go to a local who couldn't make it into Emerald City.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent, man.
It's a balancing act and looking at the big picture.
Well, that's smart. Dude, great conversation. It's really great to meet you. And continued success. Thank you. And really, whether it's the new stuff with Alex or whatever, I'd love to have you back, and we'll do another hour on WordBalloon. That'd be terrific.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Tony Parker, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We still have more panels from the Comic Art Fan show today, so I hope you'll keep watching. And really, thanks for your attention, and we'll talk soon. Take it easy.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day, and y'all stay safe out there. See ya.